In a previous video on this channel, we analyzed the artistic evolution of manga artist Hirohiko Araki, discussing how his talents as an artist have changed in his over 35 years of work on Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. To say that any analysis of this long-lasting series would be just the tip of the iceberg is an understatement, because Araki and his team of assistants have crafted so much exponentially unique content that analyzing the series in full would take hours. However, one of the most under-discussed topics in a critical sense is the extreme influence of designer fashion on Jojo, and in particular, how Araki uses fashion trends and concepts to better his storytelling. Critically exploring Jojo in direct comparison to its references feels like flipping through a catalog of the greatest hits of Moschino, Versace, and Gucci. Almost every single one of the most iconic poses in Jojo are lovingly recreated from photo shoots, to the point that we can almost trace the exact issues of Vogue that Araki was subscribed to in the 80s and 90s. The same is true of each and every meticulously designed article of clothing, and essentially every important character, be they minor villain or Jojo themselves, has a design loosely based on, or at least inspired by, designer fashion. Even the lowliest, most unsightly character can be propelled into the spotlight through Araki's use of dramatic posing. In this way, Jojo often operates more like a fashion show than as shown in manga, and under this lens, pacing, dialogue, and even action becomes a stage for the characters and their fashion to be put on full display. Because of the way panels are laid out in the print version of the manga, action scenes progress into full-page spreads of dramatic poses that fully display the detail of the character's clothing and physicality. In animation, this is taken to the next logical step, with sound and motion allowing for an even greater level of gravitas.
Mister, あなたの覚悟はこの昇りゆく朝日よりも明るい輝きで道を照らしている。そして我々がこれから向かうべき正しい道をも。
The love doesn't end there though. One of the most unique and exciting things to come from Jojo is the real-world collaborations with the designer brands that have inspired Araki's entire career. His vocal love of fashion has led to 2 collaborations with Japanese fashion magazine Spur and Frida Gianni, the former creative director at Gucci. In 2011-2013 respectively, Gianni and Araki collaborated on 2 one-shot mangas that are filled with fan-favorite Jojo characters in stunningly recreated designer clothes. Araki's passion for the medium of fashion is allowed to be put on full display, with his art legitimized by one of his favorite brands that he directly cites as an inspiration. Another example of fashion used in storytelling can be found in his book Manga in Theory and Practice, where Araki outlines how he used the design of Jotaro Kujo to establish his unique position within the series, as well as the wider world of manga at the time. Jotaro is drawn significantly taller than the previous JoJos, and his modified school uniform displays to the audience a unique Japanese delinquent look, while still being modern and chic. In the later panels, we see reference to his live-action counterpart, Clint Eastwood's Man with No Name, an archetypical anti-hero whose grizzled appearance often hides his helpful nature. Through the design, framing, and personality of the characters, Araki has illustrated everything we need to know about Jotaro almost completely visually. And this level of fidelity in visual storytelling has only increased since then, with parts 7 and 8 in particular having a completely unique visual language to most manga. Fashion has always been a medium of pure expression, and with that, it has allowed outsider art to come into focus, cultivating a space for marginalized voices. Jojo's inherent love of fashion and progressive views on sexuality and self-expression has allowed it a unique position in both the LGBTQ community and the larger anime and manga audience. In the same way Araki's music references have exposed thousands of people to different genres of music, the changing style and additions of non-heteronormative relationships allow for a gradually progressive message to be delivered with all the thrills of typical shonen fare. Not all of this messaging held up against Shonen Jump editors at the time it was published, but in more recent parts, Araki has been allowed to express more politically progressive ideas, with JoJolion containing a major supporting character who cross-dresses, and Golden Wind containing 2 explicitly gay relationships, as well as Pucci and Dio being strongly hinted at as being lovers. Much of the direct nature of these relationships is left unsaid, but they are still examples of representation that was ahead of its time. The lasting appeal of JoJo is something that Araki has contemplated tirelessly, and the attention to detail paid to the series' larger story arcs has given it a staying power stronger than most manga. In a traditional tournament-style story, a larger and stronger villain would almost always appear, but that isn't always the case in JoJo. A user's ability is only as strong as the mentality of the user itself, and the sheer variety of abilities and the amount of characters on display who could each be protagonists of their own story is staggering, and is one of the key factors that has allowed Araki to utilize his studies of art and fashion. Because of the thought put into many small details, it's interesting that to this day, JoJo is created almost entirely on paper, something increasingly rare in the ever-expanding world of digital media. Araki's reasoning for this is because he wants his reader to experience the same thrill that he does when he goes to a museum or runway show, to appreciate the tangible, intricate beauty of a work of art. He believes that this way of creating encapsulates the fascinating nature of a live performance, something that embraces its rough edges and that can sweep away the viewer if done well. This may lead to certain aspects looking slightly rougher than the competition, but it allows JoJo to leap past the bounds of other manga into the deeply complex world of high art. It feels deeply personal, yet strikingly in the moment and upbeat in the same way a live jazz session does. This has led to several Araki-centered art exhibitions, including the previously mentioned Gucci collaborations, as well as an event held in Paris and an expedition at the Mori Art Center in Tokyo, as well as a group celebration of all the different types of comic media around the world held at the Louvre. Araki describes JoJo as a song for humanity, a story about the triumph of the human spirit and the acceptance that even in death, the love that we hold for others will carry on within us. JoJo is an inspirational monument to the human condition, and the determination within to keep on going. Characters in JoJo do not falter on their goals, and when the time comes for them to fight for what they believe in, they do it with conviction and certainty no matter what. Although life can become difficult, if you persevere and find your own way, you will eventually make the life you want for yourself. In the same way, designers and artists have always had to struggle against a society that needs to turn their art into a commercial product, sometimes leaving the creator behind. Shonen Jump is an exceptionally difficult magazine to write for, with strict deadlines and editors that leave behind hundreds of aspiring artists. Luckily for us, Araki found his conviction and believed in his work, creating one of the truest and most genuine expressions of art that I've ever read.